What's up everyone, Path of Exile 2's endgame is pretty confusing, and after playing it for a while, I wanted to do a full endgame guide of what do you do once you finish crawl mode, you unlock the Atlas, you unlock the endgame, where do you start? How do you get your first hideout? How do you get to all the different activities, you know, like the breaches, the deliriums, and how do you progress those? How do you progress those to the point where you get all your Atlas skill points, you get all the specific points, you get the points for the breaches, the points for the expeditions, the things like that. How do you progress all these different endgame activities? How do we go about getting to the citadels and get into the, the main final boss? And then just some tips I've learned along the way. So how to get more Waystones, how to make those Waystones better, some tips for towers and how to use towers to get into more of the activities that you want to get into. Just lots of different things that I've learned over playing the endgame that hopefully will help everyone out. So let's get straight into this. Okay, so first just a quick overview of what the endgame is. How does it work? So when you finish Act 3 crawl mode, you will unlock this area down here called the Ziggurat Refuge Past. And that's where you will be playing the endgame before you get your hideout. So in that area, you will have this thing here called a map device. And this is basically your endgame. So if you go into this, this is like a big sprawling, procedurally generated, I think, going on forever, I think, just set of maps. So every single one of these nodes is a map we can load into, fight monsters, fight bosses, and do the different events. So this is your end game. This is basically your end game. And you can see it just goes on forever in every direction. Okay, let me just go a bit smaller here. There we go. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is, here's the base. Here's like your home. This is where you'll start. You'll start in one of these nodes here. And near you, you'll have some things like the Realm Gate. You'll have the vault, things like that. But you're looking for this thing here. You'll find this big thing here, this big tower, the burning monolith. The first goal is to go into here. There's nothing to worry about in here. You just traverse this thing, you go into it, and this will give you a portal to the burning monolith. As soon as you go here, there'll be like a statue thing in the middle. You'll click it, and that will give you your end game quest. And you can see your quests here. They'll always be at the side of your screen as you're playing. And the basic end game quest is to find 3 citadels, go into them, fight the boss, get 3 keys, and then you can summon the final boss who will be inside the burning monolith. So that's the goal of the map. That's the big end game goal that we're working towards. And as you're traveling around the map, you're going to go in all these big directions, and you can see how far you have to go, or how far I had to go in this direction. You go all the way, and eventually you'll find a citadel. And this, you'll go in, you'll fight the boss, and you'll get a key. And the keys look like this. So that's the basic end game. Okay, so that's the overall goal. That's what we're trying to achieve. Now, while we're doing that, there is a quest line we can follow, kind of, that will give us quests along the way. So while we're in the end game zone, which is, Act 3, Ziggurat Refuge, this is where you'll access the map device for the first time before you get your hideout. If you come down to this guy here, Doyani, they will have a quest. And the quest will be, go and complete, I can't remember the exact number, it's like 6 tier 1 Waystones. You'll go and do those Waystones, so you'll clear 6 maps and you'll complete them. And then you'll come back and he will give you a book with 2 Atlas passive points. You use the book, you get the 2 passives, and then he will give you the follow-up quest, which will be like, go do some tier 2 maps. And that progresses all the way to complete a number of tier 15 maps. That's like your progression. You're slowly working through these. And as you do that, you will start getting your Atlas passive tree points. So Atlas skill tree is here. You will start getting your Atlas passive tree points. And as you go through here, this can give you things like increased rarity of the Waystones that you find, increased quantity of Waystones. You can get things like more monsters. The monsters have more drops, things like that. Waystones are more effective. There's loads of really interesting things you can do here. Precursors do more. There's lots of things you can go into here. But basically, this is what you're progressing until you hit 30 out of 30 when you finish all of the quests. Okay, now let's talk about the hideout, because that's, in my opinion, one of the coolest parts about this game is you can have your own hideout to play from. You don't have to play from that zone we just showed, the Ziggurat Refuge. You can play fully from your hideout. In your hideout, you can have your own map device, your own Waystone, your own well. All of the NPCs will be here. And the best bit is you can move all of this around. You don't want Duriani stood over there. Have him stand over near your Waystone. Have him stand over, have Alva go stand over near the well. You can do that. Or even have the Waystone up here. You can do pretty much anything you want with your hideout. You can structure it however you want. And there are lots of cool hideouts we can get. So let's talk about how to get your own. So if we go on to, I'll just go on to Alva real quick and press select hideout. There are a number of hideouts in the game that everybody can get. So these hideouts are available to everybody. This was a pre-order, you know, one of the bonuses that I'm using right now. But all of these are available and they're pretty good. They're pretty fun. And you can do everything in this one that you can do in that one. They're all pretty much the same. They just look different. So as you're playing on the map device, as you're in the open world, you're basically looking for these, it's like a little club symbol. I'll see if I can find one. Here you go. It's like a little club here. This is what you're looking for. So you're looking for these symbols on your map. This one is the limestone hideout. And if you go over to it, if you complete that map, you unlock the hideout. It's as simple as that. And I can't tell you where it is because these, you know, the end game is kind of, you know, randomized. Everyone's is a bit different and they go in all different directions. So just keep playing, keep heading in a direction and look for this. As soon as you see this, make your way to it. They are one of the easiest maps to clear out because they're really small and they're not supposed to be that challenging. So put a low key in and put like a tier 1 waystone in so that it's even easier. Just go in, clear that out as fast as possible, and you'll unlock your own hideout. It's really easy. Okay, now let's talk about probably one of the most frustrating parts of the end game early on. So waystones. If we go on here, one of the most frustrating things early on when you're still learning the end game, your build kind of sucks, you know, you've just finished the campaign, is you go on here and you use a waystone. So let's say we'd put this in, we'd click that and we'd play traverse. We'd press traverse and we'd go through and it opens up 6 portals. That's an illusion. It's an illusion of safety because as soon as you fail, as soon as you get one shot by the mobs in the map, all of these portals close. So you get 1 life in the entire portal, in the entire map. And then if you fail, let's say you were to go into this one here. This one's got a boss and a ritual. You go in there, you put a tier 1 waystone and you fail, both of those events will be wiped from the map and the waystone is lost. So the events you can kind of deal with because you can find more, but the waystones, you will find yourself constantly running out. If your build is not that strong and you're still learning the game, I found I was always running out of waystones. Every single time I was like, I need more waystones, I need more waystones. Now, they drop in the open world and they drop from mobs. And as you're playing through the maps, they drop from the monsters in the maps and the bosses in the maps. If you run out, you can go to Kezul, the Architect of Time. No, you don't. You go to Duriani and you go buy, and he sells some basic waystones. These ones here will be limited time. So if I buy the 3, that's gone now. If you buy the 1, that's kind of repetitive. You can just keep buying more. So, you know, if you ever need a 1, if you're at the very start of the game, that's how you can get them. But I'd say that's more of a last resort. After you've watched this, I would hope you never need to do that again, because I'm going to show you how to farm them efficiently so that we never run out. And I will say, if you're finding these type of tips, this type of guide useful, do consider subscribing. I make a ton of videos like this, guides, builds for Path of Exile and games like it. So let's talk about how to get more of these. Okay, so here's how you get more waystones. So if I go to this guy, I'm going to buy 3 of these basics. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you see here, all of these waystones are basic. They're all gray. And you can see there's no bonus to them. They don't do anything different. So if you open a map, it will have whatever's on the map and it will be like at a base level. Now, if you look at the ones I've got here, this one is blue and this one down here is yellow. So these are like enhanced. So these waystones are more challenging. So you can see there, this one has increased rarity of items. It has more monsters, more rares, but the monsters also deal more damage and they are harder. However, for all that difficulty that we're getting, we have a waystone drop chance of plus 255%. So because the map is harder, we're getting a much bigger waystone drop chance. And if you're running maps like this, you're going to find it very hard to sustain waystones. You're going to complete a map and come out with no more waystones and be like, oh, I've got to buy more from the guy. And that's a situation you don't want to be in. So what I would suggest is go to your stash, go to your materials, wherever you've got them. If you've got a materials tab, you're looking for these materials. Orb of Transmutation, Orb of Augmentation, and Regal Orbs. They're what we want to be using. So I always keep those in my inventory at all times. So if you take one of these basic grays and you use an Orb of Transmutation, you now give it an affix. So this one has increased rarity of items in the area, which is a really good affix to have. Then you can give it another one. And you can see now it's given it a negative where the monsters are faster and they deal more damage. However, for that negative, we have 125% increased waystone drop chance. They're the type of waystones you want to be running. And that's what I would have as the base level. I would never run a waystone that isn't enhanced a little bit to give a better waystone drop chance. Now, a next step you can do is to use a Regal Orb on it and turn it yellow. And you can see there, now we have 225% waystone drop chance. So if you're running those maps, you're much less likely to run out of waystones. I'd also say combine this with bosses. If you can find bosses on the map. Here we go. This is a boss map. So where you see this little icon here, this dude here, this yellow looking guy, this is a boss map. And if you're ever lost on what the icons mean, you can click this thing in the legend, and you can see here, that's a map boss. So these will contain a map boss. Whenever you're running a map boss, always use a rare waystone like this that's fully enhanced, because bosses have a good chance of dropping waystones. Combine it with that, and you'll get a lot more waystones. And then the last way to get more waystones to drop is to get more rarity. So if the rarity that you're doing is higher, more things will drop. More waystones, more exalted orbs, divine orbs, things like that, and more gear at a higher level, at a higher quality. So you can get rarity on your waystones. Like here we got 23% increased rarity in the map that we go into, but you can also get it on your gear. And there's a stat I would be prioritizing. I would always be trying to run a good amount of rarity on your gear. It's as important as resistances and damage, in my opinion, because you're going to find yourself, as you're playing, if you don't have high rarity, you're going to be struggling to find waystones, struggling to get dropped. I would always try and have high rarity, as the gameplay experience just feels better. I've got it on a lot of my gear. I've got it on my helmet, like 40%. I've got it on my ring, like 15%. You can get it on your boots as well, 23%. Just if you're looking for gear, if you find gear and it rolls rarity, try and use that. Try and find more gear with rarity on, as it just smoothens out the experience. And you want your stash to have, like, this is what you want your waystones to like. You want excess. You want more waystones, because it means if you get a bad roll, you don't have to use it. If you get lots of lower level ones, you can go to the reforging bench and go boop, 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 and you can reforge them 2 into a 1. So yeah, you can basically turn 3 lower levels into a higher level. So you can turn 3 1s into a 2, 3 2s into a 3, 3 5s into a 6, that kind of thing. So having excess, having too many waystones is really, really, really good. And I would always suggest to try and have more rarity for that reason, at least. And then obviously, yeah, so like 3 level 1s go into a level 1 level 2. 3 level 5s would give you 1 level 6, things like that. So as you're progressing and you're wanting to do higher and higher level waystones, it's good to have too many. But yeah, that's waystones. And then on top of it, the final thing is go into your Atlas tree. There are lots of things on here, like we said, that give waystones, especially at the top here. We've got like higher tier waystones. Down here, we've got like increased quantity of waystones in your maps, increased quantity of waystones. So there's waystones 20% higher tier. There's lots of things in here that can give you more things from your waystones. You can also just type in here waystone, and it will highlight anything that impacts your waystones. So yeah, if you're struggling, there are lots of ways to juice up the amount you get, but don't be discouraged at the start if you're finding yourself constantly buying from Doyani. Okay, now while you're doing this endgame, you will come across multiple endgame activities. And these are things you really want to focus on. So if we look at the map now, there are all these different icons. There are 4 that you need to think about: Breach, Delirium, Expedition, and Ritual. These 4 activities all lead to player power and progression. And it is where a lot of your progression will come from and things you need to be focusing on. So there are going to be some you like and some you don't. I personally really like Breaches and Expeditions. I don't really like Rituals. And that's fine if there's ones that you like more than others, because you can make it so that you get more on your map, and I'll show you how to do that later. But let's talk first about how they progress, because when you first get to them, say you get to a ritual, say you get to a breach, and you go in, this is like a hand on the map, you go to this purple hand, it opens up a breach, all these monsters charge at you, and 1, you might just fail it instantly because you're not strong enough, but 2, if you do beat it, you finish it and go, is that it? Is that all it is? No, there's more to it. As you do a higher level key and you complete these events, you will get drops that progress them. Every one of these events, Breach, Delirium, Expedition, and Ritual, has drops that progress them. So sticking with Breach as an example, as you complete Breaches, you will get Breach Splinters. These Breach Splinters will drop from the Breaches. If you collect 300 Breach Splinters, you can create a Breach Stone, which is like, this is the progression of the Breach. Get 300 splinters, and in higher tier maps, more splinters drop, so it's not that overwhelming. And then you can make a breach stone with 300. And this will unlock like the end game for breachers. So try and collect these as you're playing. But try and get to 300. I'm going to show footage in the back as well. And once you have enough, you'll get a breach stone. You can go into here. You can go into, where's home? You go into the realm gate here. You add the breach stone. And you can then go and do this final version. You progress through the breach stone. You get to the end. You get a bunch of rewards. And there's a boss. You beat the breach stone boss. And beating the boss gets you 2 points for the breach stone, for the breach passive tree, which is over here. And then you can level up the breach. You go to here, more grasping hands. You go to here, drop double breach splinters, inflicts waking nightmare when opened. Things like breaches on your map close slower, increase monster density. So again, if you feel like things are kind of boring at the start, it's because you haven't progressed them and you haven't leveled them up. So that's a big part of the end game, is getting to these different events and making them stronger and making them more exciting. So yeah, that's just breaches. With the others, for example, with the expeditions, you go in and you plant the things and you loot the chests in expeditions. There is a chance that they will drop something called a logbook. You go over to the guys in your hideout, Dan Ying, for example, in your hideout, and you can show him your expedition map and you give him a logbook, and that will take you to a special zone with a giant expedition where you plant 20 different chargers. So, and that can also, you can use those chargers to reveal a boss, and that can be the same there. And yeah, the ritual has a chance to give you the invitation of a king, which you can then take and go to that. And every one basically has its own version of this, where you go in, you progress, you fight a boss, and you make that event more interesting. So my advice would be to focus on an event you like. Focus on something you like and try and find more of them. Like I say, I don't like rituals. I try and avoid them, and I try and get as many breaches and expeditions on my map as possible because I enjoy them. So let's talk about that next. And if you want a full guide on each one individually, let me know. Or if you want me to go into more detail on these events, I can do a separate video on that if you'd like. Let me know. But let's move on to how to tailor your atlas for specific events. Okay, so we want to do a certain activity over and over and over again. Why? One is because we like them, and two is for the rewards. So let's quickly talk about that. And I will say this is getting on quite a long time, this one. So if you find this useful, do consider subscribing. I'm trying to keep it as detailed as possible and as beginner friendly as possible. So there are certain rewards for doing certain things. If I go into this one, for example, if you do breaches, you get these catalysts, which can enhance rings and amulets and specific modifiers on them to be stronger, which is really good. They can also drop breach rings, which can be enhanced 30% more than normal, up to 50. The expeditions drop artifacts, and you can go to the expedition vendors over here, and you can get really cool items from them, and you can enhance those items with the artifacts as well, which is a really cool system. The deliriums drop these really cool eyes and guilt and these emotion things, which you can use to give a special passive on your amulet. So you can pick a passive and get a free passive on your amulet from the passive tree. You can also use it to enhance your waystones. Anyway, there's lots of cool rewards to everything except for rituals, because rituals suck. But yeah, there's lots of cool things here. So how do we farm one thing on repeat? Towers. It's all about towers. So what you want to do is find the thing you like. So say, for example, we want to farm deliriums. We want to farm deliriums. We want to do loads and loads of deliriums. We want to get to the delirium boss, and we want to just live in deliriums and progress that system because we want the rewards and we like it. Look on your map for deliriums. So what I would do is I would look all around. Remember, your map is infinite. It goes on forever. So you're not going to run out. So just keep going in a direction and look for deliriums. For example, we've got one down here. So you can see here, this one has a delirium on it, which is the weird icon here. And if you're ever lost, you've got the legend here, and it says there, that's what a delirium looks like. So find a delirium, go in and do it. And then go into another one and do it, and keep targeting them and doing them. Keep going in a direction and doing them. Eventually, you will have a tablet drop. So these precursor tablets are used in the towers to empower the things around them. So just keep doing deliriums until you get one of these tablets. You can see here, this is a delirium tablet because it dropped in a delirium. Now, if we use that in a tower, which is these things here, this will mean 8 maps around it contain a delirium. So if I go into that tower right now and I use this delirium tablet, it will create 8 more deliriums around it, which is great. But you don't want to use it. As soon as you find it, you don't want to use it. My advice would be to keep farming deliriums that you find naturally. Just keep farming them that you find naturally. Just keep going around and doing more deliriums until you have like 3 or 4 tablets. Once you have 3 or 4 tablets, you want to upgrade them. So use your Orb of Transmutation, and now 14% increased rarity of items in your map. So those deliriums will have more drops in them. Then use an Orb of Augmentation to give it another affix. Delirium Fog dissipates 13% slower, which means they'll stay open for longer. I don't think we can make them yellow, can we? No. Once they're blue, they're blue. So get these tablets, get a few of them, and upgrade them as high as you can. And then what you want to do is find something like this. Keep going around until you find a cluster of towers. So you can see here, I found this tower and it revealed 2 more. What I would do then is go to this tower. You go in, you put a waypoint in it, you put a waystone in it, you clear the tower, go to the next tower, clear the tower, just like a normal map, clear the tower. Once the tower is cleared, you would put the tablet in. And then what they would do is they would overlap. So let's say you went to this tower here, you put in this delirium tablet. 8 things around it would contain a delirium. And those deliriums would last longer. You'd put one in here, and let's say it had 8 more deliriums, and deliriums give an extra reward. Awesome. And then you go here, and you have 8 more deliriums, but the deliriums have a chance to spawn an extra thing inside it, for example. That would mean around here, you would have 8, 16, 24 deliriums, and all of the modifiers would merge. So on one of these things, you would have a big list of affixes. I'll see if I can find one that's like super juiced, done most of the good stuff. Like that, there you go. That's juiced with like a couple of overlapping things. So you can see it has multiple modifiers on it, and then it has multiple events on it. And you can also, if you want, if there's multiple things you like, you can merge those together. So we have things like this here, where we have breaches and expedition on the same map, which is pretty cool because I like both of those. So yeah, that's something that you want to be doing so that you can farm more of them, because early on the drop rate is so low. So yeah, try and farm them, try and get the tablets, try and juice up your map to have more of the events you want, and then farm them on repeat over and over and over again to get the better items and progress them. I think that's everything. It's pretty much everything I want to talk about. Again, it's been pretty long because I wanted to keep it at a point where even someone who's a beginner that's just unlocked Endgame can follow this, and it's not too complex. But I still wanted to talk about the complex things so you know what they are when you get there. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you want to add that I've not covered. If you're a pro, let other people know. And if you have any questions, do let me know down below and I'll try my best to answer. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and let me know if there's anything you want me to go over in more detail in a further video. But that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you if you stayed to the end. You're incredible. Thank you so much. And that's it from me. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.